Phil, do you care about sort of historical matchup with the team? Obviously, Vancouver, a lot of history with the Portland Timbers through MLS and before that. And are you a coach that holds grudges from previous matches with the club?
No, I don't. I think there's something in, for instance, players' records against certain clubs. I think there's something in that. I always think that there are cycles to everything. It seems like Vancouver I think I've played them, I'm going to say 4 or 5 times. I think we've only won once, maybe. You'll know better than me, Adam, on that one, I think. But no, I can see it in sort of like individual matchups. But I think in terms of each season, each game is different. There was a game up at BC Place, I think last year at the end of the season, where I thought we totally dominated, didn't get the win we deserved, and then they obviously beat us on the first game of last season when we got a man sent off in the first 5 or 6 minutes. So there's context to every result. What we do know is that I think they're one of the top teams in the conference. They've got a settled team with, looks like they've got a real good spirit, and we're going to have to be at our absolute best to get a result.
Jenny.
Speaking of the first 5 to 6 minutes of the match and the first 2 games of the season, the team has conceded a goal within that time frame. What has been your message to the team in order to start fast and try to avoid conceding in that time?
Yeah, I think it's there's obviously a pattern in the first 2 games, and we want to start games quick. We're at home. We want to be on the front foot. We want to be in control of the game, whether it's with or without the ball. So it starts from the minute you wake up. On the morning, you warm up, your preparation, when you go out there, and that's something that we need to do better.
Alex.
Is that a Newcastle jersey?
There was a moment in training today where Eric...
By the way, are you wearing that because you beat Man United yesterday? I mean, it's unbelievable, isn't it? I just noticed that. He's rubbing it in, isn't he?
Moment in training today where Eric Izoita was megged by one of the coaching staff and you brought practice to a halt to make him do push-ups. Any backstory behind that?
No, I just think it was Nick Malonis. Obviously, you've seen Nick Malonis for the last 100 years around here. Is that he really thinks he's a real top number 10 DP type level, and I think when a staff member has that kind of success, I think it needs to be celebrated. So I think that's the only reason.
Morning, Phil.
How are you?
Very good. I want to ask about Vancouver. You're going to face them this weekend. They are 11 players, but they have a good star, Thomas Müller. You're going to have like a special treat for him?
No, I think I remember when I was a coach at Manchester United, and I flew to watch Bayern Munich play, and me and the technical staff, our remit was to look at Toni Kroos and Thomas Müller to sign him. And there's certain movements that you watch games of football as a young coach, and there's certain things that have a real lasting impression on you. Obviously, Thomas was as a player at the similar time to me. So, but when I went and watched him as a coach, as a scout, someone as a potential signing, you see something different. You're looking at a player different. You look at games different, and there's certain movements that he did at that time that still to this day, there's a certain movement. I call it the Thomas Müller movement, and so he left a real big impression in terms of his quality, his intelligence. He's a smart player, and I think I was making the point to somebody the other day that when these absolute superstars come to this league, what I absolutely love, even though they're not playing for Portland Timbers, is how much they want to win. I think that's a great example. You saw it with Thomas Müller at the end of last season, like driving the Vancouver Whitecaps to the MLS Cup final. You watched the Florida Derby the other day in terms of you looked at Messi and DePaul. These are players that have won everything in the game, and the intensity and the fight to win a game of football, I think it's inspiring for the MLS player, because I think in the past there's been this misconception of people coming here for a retirement. These players are coming here to win. That shows the level of player. That shows their absolute mentality. And I think that's a great example to every young MLS player, every young player in this league about that's the level that you have to have, regardless of what you've done in the game, regardless of what you've got in your bank account. That bit of mentality never leaves you. And I think that, for me, is something that we're trying to put into this young group. We've got a young group. We're going to be fearless. We're going to take risks. And we want them to play with that kind of mentality. I think I say mentality a lot in these press conferences. The mentality is that find a way to win. Do all you can to be successful in the game. Beat your opponent. Help your teammate. And we've seen that over the time that I've been here. And I'm super proud of our players for that. We just need more consistency on that mentality bit.
Morning, Coach.
How you doing?
How's it going? Good, good. I just wanted to know, do you think playing a Cascadia rival this early in the season for like the newcomers and such a young group is important for them moving forward in the season?
Well, if you'd have asked me last season, I'd have said no, because we lost the game 4-1. So I think what I would say is that having a Cascadia game at Providence Park with a sellout crowd, with our supporters in like they were against Columbus, I think it is really inspiring for our players. I think it lifts them, it inspires them, it motivates them, it gives them a real comfort, and I think that gives us a real good feeling going into the game.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Billy.
The content team put out a great video before the first match. It was from preseason. It was sort of a behind the scenes of seeing, not skipping a pass in the back, getting somebody numbers in the box at a certain place, denying a second ball entry in the box on the defensive end.
Yeah.
The team did well with that the first match, but maybe I think those things weren't as prevalent the second match. How important is it to not skip a pass in the back when you're either chasing a game or trying to set up the other things that keep you successful at field?
Well, I think you make a great point in terms of, I call that the game plan. If you stick to the game plan and trust the game plan and believe in the game plan and execute the game plan, it gives you a better chance of winning. And I keep making reference to the inconsistencies of our players at this moment in time. Is that is probably the young group that we've got, is because you reach incredible heights against Columbus, where they go out there, they perform, and they stick to the game plan. They execute the game plan. The tactical game plan was really good. And then the week after, you think about a young player's trajectory. It's you almost sort of like, you take one step forward, two steps back as a young player, because you maybe start believing what people are writing about you. You may start getting a little bit carried away. You forget the fundamentals sometimes. So every single day, what we do as coaches is that we keep reminding them of the basics. Keep doing the basics really well. And if we do that, I think we're going to be a really outstanding team, particularly with the additions, particularly with Da Costa back, particularly with the players that we've got coming in.
Just an availability question. Neither Alexander Aravena or Alex Bonateg were on the training pitch today. What's their status?
Aravena's away getting his visa, so we don't know how long that's going to be. Bonateg, it was precaution. He had a little bit of tightness yesterday, coming off the back of the altitude at the weekend, so we took a precaution with him a little bit yesterday and today. Hopefully by the weekend, he should be okay. Da Costa's going to be back for Houston. Mosquera's going to be back probably for the week after Houston. Is it LA Galaxy? I think it is. We're missing these players in our depth. Hopefully we'll have. We had Charles Ondo in the squad this morning. We had Eric Izoita with us this morning. We rested Noah Santos, who's been doing really well. So hopefully on Saturday, we might be able to see a couple of youngsters on the pitch. I know there's a contract situation with Eric that we needed to get him signed, so that's hopefully gets done in the next 24 hours, and the squad gets thick with the younger players from below.
Watching that Vancouver versus Toronto game, one thing that was very apparent to me is how good of passers both their center backs are, and Ralph Priso and Blackman. As a coach, how do you sort of deal with that when you know those two center backs can ping a ball all over the pitch?
Yeah, I think we've got to put pressure. I think you've got to put pressure on the ball. I think if you allow teams, I think about our players. If you allow Kamal and Alex and Finn to have time on the ball, they can dictate, they can control, they can play any kind of pass, whether it's short or long. And so I think something that we've worked really hard on this season is putting pressure on higher up the field, to win the ball back, because I think the data shows, I think we're one of the best counter-attack teams from winning the ball back in the MLS, and that is through the speed that we've got in wide areas. So I think the higher up we win it, the more aggressive that we are, gives us further opportunity to counter-attack from 40 meters instead of 80 or 60 meters.
Obviously, those wide areas with Juan Mosquera being out to start this season, Brandon Bai has come in and looked really good so far through 2 games. Just his service, he probably could have had 2 or 3 assists so far. What do you make of his start to Portland?
Well, I think he's done everything that we expected. He's come in, he's reliable. When we talk about inconsistency, he's the opposite. He's consistent. He's been in this league 6-7 years. He's won in this league. He knows what it takes to perform in this league. He's great around the dressing room, and I think at the start of the season people were saying, yeah, he's a really good defender, but maybe not as good going forward. Well, I say that from the last 2 games he's provided some incredible assists from the right hand side. I think Gage has had a couple of opportunities from that right hand side from his crosses, and I think he's a really underrated player in this league.
Profesor, buenos
Hola,
días.
Buenos días.
Español, una nada más. La gente se pregunta por qué el equipo no pudo jugar como había jugado el partido anterior en casa, y qué van a hacer para poder controlar a un equipo que trae un jugador como Thomas Müller.
Sí, es un reto muy grande. Jugamos contra un jugador como Diego Rossi en el primer partido. Para mí, Diego Rossi es uno de los mejores 10 en esta liga. Entonces, un 10, un 9 en los últimos 2 partidos son buenos en los 2 equipos que jugamos contra. Entonces, es un otro partido donde los centrocampistas, los centrales, tienes que rendir, por favor, rendir. Y tenemos un plan para proteger, para jugar contra ellos. Pero Thomas Müller es un jugador fenomenal, con una actitud sensacional. Entonces, es un partido donde no podemos centrar solo en un jugador. Es un equipo bueno. Vancouver es un equipo bueno, con muchos jugadores buenos. Entonces es un partido difícil, pero estamos muy felices con la preparación y con el partido sábado para remontar el rendimiento contra Colorado.
Thank you.
Gracias.
James up next.